Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele meets with President Muhammadu Buhari over global crude oil price increase and a stabilizing effect on the naira. Senate raises hope of the passage of the 2017 budget, gives indication that the appropriation bill will be passed next week. The leadership tussle in the PDP continues as the Supreme Court fixes May 25th to hear the case between the rival groups in the party. And on the foreign scene, 31-year-old Somali minister killed by the military who mistook him for an Al-Shabaab militant.
On business news tonight, the Securities and Exchange Commission SAC's board of Ikeja Hotels PLC approves directors for the troubled hospitality company.
And on sports news tonight, quarter-finalists emerge from the Lagos preliminaries of the Channel's National Kids Cup after action on day 3.
And from Abuja, World Economic Forum opens in Durban, South Africa, as leaders address poverty on the continent.
"24 hours after the president's absence from the Federal Executive Council meeting at the presidential villa in Abuja, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, today met Muhammadu Buhari behind closed doors. Mr. Emefiele told State House correspondents after the meeting that the president was delighted over news that there is a rise in global oil price, which might provide a stabilizing effect on the naira. Mr. Emefiele will be the third top official of government to brief the president in 1 week. He had met with the Attorney General of the Federation and the Group Managing Director of the NNPC on Tuesday.
I briefed him regarding the activities so far, and he was very delighted to hear that the market is stabilizing at the level that it is right now between, and I'm saying the parallel market, black market, or even our investor window, which currently stabilizes at between 380 and 385. At this time, we've seen production of crude increasing. Export of crude has increased, so to that extent, the fact that we've seen also crude prices oscillating between 50 to 55 to 56, it has helped our revenue position and also provided some ammunition for central bank to defend the currency. The fact that revenues are looking good, right? The state of the economy is good, and I believe that we are going to pull out of the problem in due course.
CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. Lawmakers in the Senate have offered a firm assurance that the 2017 budget will be laid before them on Tuesday, May 9th, and passed also next week. Budget 2017 was listed in the order paper to be laid today, but the Committee on Appropriation failed to present it before the Senate. However, Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who presided over plenary, says the Appropriation Committee is putting finishing touches to the document. He also asked Nigerians not to panic over the delayed passage of the 2017 budget, insisting that the delay will not affect government business. President Buhari on December 14, 2016, presented the 7.29 trillion naira budget before a joint session of the National Assembly. The Supreme Court has fixed May 25th to rule on an appeal filed by factional chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Ali Modu Sharif, challenging the competence of the suit filed by the Ahmed McCarthy-led caretaker committee of the party. At the resumed hearing of the appeal at the Apex Court, counsel to Senator Sharif asked the court not to hear the appeal because it was not properly filed. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafo, reports.
The two factions sitting on the opposite side of the Supreme Court, waiting for the adjudication of the case on the leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party. At the proceedings, counsel to the PDP led by Senator Ali Modu Sharif, Mr. Latif Fagbemi, informed the court of its opposition to the suit before it. According to him, the suit as filed by Senator Ahmed McCarthy is not properly filed because he does not have the authorization of the party to file the suit on its behalf. He added that only the Senator Sharif-led Executive Council, which is the authentic leadership of the party, can decide if the party wants to challenge the judgment or not. When asked if the faction of the People's Democratic Party he represents is part of the suit, Mr. Fagbemi answered in the negative and told the court that the People's Democratic Party he represents, which is the one recognized by law, is not inclined to be a party in the suit, and that is why he is in court to ask the court to dismiss the appeal. On his part, counsel to Senator Ahmed Makarfi urged the court to dismiss the argument because the issues raised by Mr. Fagbemi is already in the substantive suit before the court, and since issues have been joined, there is no need to listen to anybody who is not a part of the suit.
We'll be here again on the 25th of May, God willing.
The Makarfi faction is an unknown body for purposes of the appeal that was filed in this case. If the Makarfi faction feels strongly about appealing, they can take out appeal in their name. Nobody is saying they cannot do so, but you cannot use the party. Don't forget, some people are in the saddle. Sharif is in the saddle. He's been confirmed to be the leader or the controlling mind of P for now. Maybe it will be set aside later, but he says, I'm not interested in it.
All parties will have to wait until the 25th of May to know if their position will be affirmed by the court. Amaka Okafor, Channel Television News.
Opposition lawmakers in the Senate and the House of Representatives have alleged that they are being treated unfairly and targeted by anti-graft agencies. The People's Democratic Party caucus in the Senate claims that the present administration is hounding its political opponents. Our correspondent, Lina Kibi, reports.
President Buhari has left no one in doubt that fighting corruption is one of the cardinal objectives of his administration. Anti-corruption agencies have slammed former and 7 high-profile government officials with corruption-related charges. However, some federal lawmakers feel anti-graft agencies are targeting political opponents of government.
As a PDP caucus in
the People's Democratic Party caucus in the Senate says they are aware of an alleged plan by some persons in the President Buhari-led government to silence the opposition.
Some persons in the presidency who have planned to use the EFCC and other security agencies to harass, intimidate, and set up the Deputy Senate President in order to put him in detention.
However, it appears that opposition lawmakers are not the only ones feeling the heat from anti-graft agencies.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday in the evening around 3 o'clock, while I was here in the chambers conducting my legislative activities, some security personnel raided my house in Kano. They said there was an alleged allegation that you are in possession of arms and ammunition in your house and dollars. They took away a cabinet from my house. I went there with the key to the cabinet. They asked me, they subjected me to a series of questions. And I told them I don't know Andrew Yakubu.
Some Nigerians who led a protest to the National Assembly also expressed concern that federal lawmakers are being unfairly targeted for scandals, which is a distraction to legislative work.
Some people, miscreants, will come here and allege that Senator Dr. Andy Uba, that he has fake papers, fake results, left, right, and center. But of course, in this country, we have this mechanism to verify. Not when people wake up, they go to social media and say this is this and this is that, and we judge issues on court of public opinion.
However, the EFCC has vowed that no amount of scaremongering from lawmakers will dissuade it from vigorously enforcing its mandate to rid Nigeria of corruption. Linda Kibi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, trial of the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, resumed today in Abuja. Dr. Saraki is facing Trial for alleged false declaration of assets. The prosecution's final witness, Mr. Bayo Dauda of GT Bank, who is the group head in charge of the public sector in the Southwest, confirmed that Dr. Saraki took out 3 loans between October 11, 2006 to February 10, 2010. The witness admitted that copies of foreign transfer forms in respect of the 3rd loan granted on the 10th of February 2010, allegedly in respect of a London property, could not be found. The prosecution has closed its case and continuation of trial has been adjourned to June 8, 2017 for presentation of submission of no case to answer by the defense and response by the prosecution.
There was a fire in the foreign department of GTB which burnt the documents that the defendant is relying on, and then the backup copies in a Lorraine branch cannot be found. And it is only the defendant's documents that cannot be found. The documents relating to all other customers who also engage in foreign transactions are all intact, except the very documents that the defendant needs for his defense. Those are the ones that are missing. Isn't it peculiar? We are going to make a no-case submission, and we're saying, in effect, that the prosecution has not proved its case. It hasn't made a case that's sufficient to require the defendant to offer a defense. And this is a right that the defendant has in law to say to the tribunal, there's nothing for me to defend. And that's what we're going to do.
By allowing the courts to deliver its ruling and for the prosecution to make argument that there is a case so that they can prepare their defense and have those issues that were raised in this no-case submission as a basis to call their witnesses. So it's a strategy that they have adopted. It's their right, and nobody can take it away from them.
In a bid to ensure that Nigerians obtain their travelling passports easily, the House of Representatives is urging the executive to address the challenges faced by the supplier of the passport booklets. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who appeared before the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, says they're not to blame for the scarcity. He also briefed the committee on the industrial action embarked upon by local staff at the Nigerian Embassy in Washington, D.C. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
Getting a Nigerian passport booklet for some Nigerians has recently become very difficult. According to this lawmaker in the House of Representatives, the issue is giving the country a bad image.
The House notes the acute shortage of passport booklets in recent time, which is causing a lot of hardship on citizens wishing to acquire passports, thus leading to long queues at immigration offices and across the country.
Adopting the prayers of the motion, the House is urging the executive to urgently address the challenges being faced by the supplier of the passport booklets. The matter has also been referred to the Committee on the Interior and the Committee on Foreign Affairs for more legislative work. Meeting with the Committee on Foreign Affairs afterwards, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the issue is out of their hands.
The mission have no access, and therefore when they run short of booklets, they have to call on immigration for booklets to be supplied. As I tried to explain, immigration says they do not have because they could not pay for production. To pay for production, they need approval for funds to be transferred.
The Permanent Secretary also answered questions on the industrial action by staff of the Nigerian Embassy in Washington.
2015 fourth quarter overhead allocation to missions was not released. 2015 fourth quarter, which laid the basis for the arrears of salaries for the locally recruited staff in all of our missions abroad. As regards the mission in Washington, one of the greatest challenges we currently face, I must admit, is the bloated local staff size, which is currently at 44, having been reduced from 57, as against the approved ceiling of 22 local staff.
The committee says the country must plug avenues of waste in the missions for better administration.
The onus is on us, stakeholders, to start to look within ourselves to find out innovative ways, plug the waste. I recognize that we're not properly funded, but also there's so much avenue for leakage and waste.
2004.
Meanwhile, a bill seeking to amend the Flag and Coat of Arms Act 2004 and make further provisions to preserve the country's national heritage has passed second reading in the House. Among other things, the bill seeks to provide a 100,000 naira fine for people who distort the country's national flag. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, a primate of the Anglican Church of Nigeria calls for prayers for Nigeria. Stay with us.